her oxygen mask on in the car, and what does she do? He gives her a drag of his cigarette.
See that?
Which is,
Ew.
if you already know the ship is going down, let it be happy.
That it is.
Yep.
What rank is that?
That's Senior Master Sergeant, that's an E8.
They're both heavy smokers.
And,
Air Force.
What is
Your
amazing
Yes.
is the body type.
that's the, at the time in
My theory,
2012, that was
there are
the
only 12
Chief
different
Master
body
Sergeant of the
types
Air
in this
Force.
world.
Yeah.
kind of
Okay.
like your Chief
Senior-
Tom Selleck
Sergeant Major-
is
Sergeant Major
your
of the
selectman
of the Air
in
Force. That's what he
in
was in the Air
Milton,
Force.
New Hampshire.
And this is a
Right.
colonel over here.
Uh,
That was my wingman. I covered his
but,
face.
have you seen
We went all over the
Robert
Middle East
Redford
together,
lately?
many times.
Yeah, he's looking old.
I didn't know you were in the Air
Notice
Force.
he still has the same blonde
Yeah.
hair.
I didn't quite think
And he and
35,
Bob Graham
35
could be
years, 9
cousins.
months and
Yeah.
18
How old
days.
are you
Right.
now, Pat?
And it's just,
Yep.
Too far off.
Now that you mention it, yeah.
yeah,
88 when I
And it just-
graduated was 407.
and you know what's really a pain
2000,
in the
it's
ass?
almost 2 grand an
His-
ounce now.
Bob Graham sits there and says, oh, call to order, roll call, chairman reads the room.
We're all set to start recording.
You good?
Yes,
No, I'm gonna try to keep a mask on. I'm not, no guarantees.
thanks for waiting.
Not a problem. Being 6:37, I'm going to bring the Milton Planning Board meeting of September 1st to order. We have we have just what we got. We don't even have a alternate anymore, do we?
You don't have what anymore?
An alternate?
We don't have any alternates.
No, we don't.
Wow.
So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We're good.
Mhm.
Bob Graham called me and said his wife wasn't doing well, so he would not be here tonight.
Okay.
And I guess Ryan is still off somewhere.
Ryan said he was gonna be gone for 4 straight weeks, so this should be the final week that he's gone.
Okay? Okay, I'm gonna skip number 2, because the chairman's reading the open statement, I don't have one.
We're physical.
We're physical. So number 3 is a public comment, and I'm gonna open the meeting up to public comment. Not seeing any public, I'm gonna close public comment. Now we're gonna do the review and approval of minutes of July 28th meeting.
I'll make a motion to accept the.
Second.
I have a first and second, any discussion? Not hearing any, all those in favor?
Alright.
Opposed? And now the capital improvements ranking review. You all got your copies of it?
I'm just gonna give you just a couple of comments on this,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman.
It's a bigger one.
Yep.
As you know, the first thing that I did was, I took all of your rating sheets and tallied everything up. If you didn't do it, check your math most of the time. And then entered these things into the spreadsheet that's set up to give me both a total and an average. And then figured out what the highest average, what the highest total project was. That's in the top part of the spreadsheet here. And then in the bottom part of the spreadsheet, you will see that they are now ranked in order of your rating. And I have the 2021 project submittal cost in orange. And then here is the way I see it, there's a couple of things that really should drive your discussion tonight. One is, do you agree with the priority order? And 2, do you agree with the suggested recommended project funding, which is to the right of the orange column? What that does, and we've talked about it in past years, is if you get to a priority ranking and you know that you only have X number of dollars that is feasible to expend for the capital improvement program, you have to say, once we get to a certain number in these prioritized projects, we're not gonna recommend their funding to the Board of Selectmen this year. And so what you'll see to the right is recommended project funding. This would come from you. And there is a difference in a couple of projects, as you can see. The road projects, in your previous meetings, you have reduced it by 50 grand. Way down at the bottom, the European NIAID project, you recommended that be reduced from 20 to 5. And I think that's the only reductions that you made for your recommendations. What you'll see under comments to the right of the recommended project funding is what you did. For instance, reduce this by 50,000 for 2021. The education project, the school project, really is paid for with state education windfall money. The one on the boat ramp repair and reconstruction, it's noted that the rec director initially submitted for 15,000, but she reduced it to 0 because of her concerns that nothing would be approved. You added 5,000 back in. Under the police cruiser replacement of car 1, it's noted that there's no tax levy money coming from this, that it's from the police detail capital reserve fund. And then when you get down below prioritized project 15, almost all the way to the bottom, the suggested recommendation, and again, this is what you guys have got to talk about, is that all of those projects begin again in 2022. Essentially what that does is it means that whatever department that is, I think it's the Department of Public Works, needs to make the equipment and vehicles listed here last one more year before purchasing. And then finally, I really believe that you may also want to talk about the European NIAID eradication project possibly one more time, considering that you ranked it 25th, dead last. And I'll stop talking now, unless you have questions.
Okay. Do we ever hear back from the TPPA on what their funding is and how much funding they have?
No.
I think that's why you see us dropped it down. I mean, if they could have come forward and say, hey, we got this much money, but every year it's asking for $20,000.
I can try one more time, if you wish.
No, I wouldn't.
We've spoken.
Mr. Chairman.
You've asked him what, twice now?
I've sent 2 emails. I've not
Okay.
spoken with anyone on the telephone, and that I have to say for so you're clear that unless things get very dire, I do everything by email on this and ask for read receipts and all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Brown?
what would life be without a contrary opinion? The other thing is that the association is a free will offering. They have no legal liability for the health of the free bonds.
Mm-hmm.
What liability or moral obligation does the town itself take?
The water belongs to the state, not us. How much does the state kick in?
When Mr. Brown comes in, shall I tell him you called?
Well, the answer to that is that I think there is some fund. It's not a lot. I don't have the actual numbers for lakes other than the big lake. Lake Winnipesaukee
Yep.
gets a lot of state funding to eradicate the milfoil up there, which is not the same as the European NIAID, but it's still an invasive species. We get a little bit less, what's the word I'm looking for? We're less important, so we get less money.
And again, we don't know what Lebanon or state of Maine is contributing. But we know every year we get asked for $20,000, and I think we're the biggest contributors of it.
Well, that's what was testified to last year
Yep.
during this process.
I mean, money, and there's no reason why they can't tell us what it is, what they have. There's no reason.
I guess I'd like to know just what's been eradicated, how much in percentages and a little more data than what we're getting.
I'm willing to get that data. I'm not gonna ask somebody to come to talk to you. I'm gonna ask them to submit the, figures that
That'd
they're
be
asking
great.
to see.
That'd be great, I like that idea.
Well, I think it's too late for them this year. I'd like to finalize this tonight, people.
I personally say take the top 10, push it forward, and push the rest out to 2022.
Is that a motion?
I would make the motion to push forward the top 10 and take 11 through 25, and begin again in 2022.
I'd second.
Any discussion? Mr. Brown?
So, we're working in order from the photocopy here. Do you want to identify them by name for the record?
I can.
Is that useful? Is it necessary? Does it do anything?
1
Or
through
will-
10?
Or will Bruce, or will your covering letter to the selectmen do that?
The selectmen will get this sheet.
That,
If you vote this motion in, what will change is, four of these projects that are above begin again in 22 will also say begin again in 2022. And the numbers will change at the bottom, obviously, they'll go down.
okay, so in that orange column, the last covered cost is which?
Would be the police cruiser, which is,
Which
Funded by-
theoretically we could just say 1 through 9, because the police cruiser gets paid out of the tax levy, or no tax levy comes out of the detail fund anyways.
I'd still suggest you leave it in there as your recommended project.
would anybody like me to list the 10, or?
Why don't you just put that they can refer to this, diagram?
Okay. I have a motion to accept the first 10 to be submitted to the selectmen as what we recommend from the CIP.
Did you get your second?
I have a second.
Okay.
Any more discussion? Not hearing any, I'll take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed?
No. Just one.
You opposed? Okay, sorry, I didn't.
Did you wanna say why?
Well, I'm worried about, I agree with you, what you're doing, there's no problem with that. I'm just worried about these two fire trucks, you know, they cost $300,000, I guess, I don't know why, but they do. And we got 2 fire trucks, I'd like to kick in some money for them to, you know, get that process going, it's such a huge amount of money. So I know they're asking 40,000, 20,000, I cut that in half or something like that, but that's just me, I don't expect the board to. I'm okay with it, but I just, those big ticket items really worry me, push it further down the road. And again, I don't know why a fire truck costs 300,000, but, you know, I'll submit a bid for 299 to see if they'll take it.
So Bruce, are you gonna do a narrative on this, or do we need to discuss what we want to have it?
Well, I think that what I wanna do is hear from the board on what their bullet points are. It's obvious to me what we're gonna say about the projects, how they were ranked, and then how they were rated, and then what your philosophy behind knowing what the top 10 is. It's pretty obvious. But is there any other bullet statements that you'd like in your annual recommendation report? And I will give you a for instance. I thought we were making good progress with the school department over the last 2 years. Prior to that, they didn't even They didn't even respond. We're back to them not responding at all.
Mm-hmm.
I did talk with with one of the school board members, actually two of the school board members, when we went to the meeting to hear about 91A. And, the answer from those folks that I got was that we're working on our capital improvement program.
They're not getting it yet, they don't get it yet.
Right, well, a couple of years ago, I did send I sent the statute to them that spoke about the fact that the planning board can compel departments, department heads, commissions that have the ability to spend money, and a school administrative unit to come before them and to tell them what their capital projects are over a discrete 6-year period. That's in the statute. I think that might have helped make them cooperate more 2 years ago, but maybe there's been a change in personnel, I have no idea. I'm not laying the blame at anybody's feet. I suppose I could have gone right down to the SAU office and camped out in protest or something.
That's not your job.
No. It's their job to participate.
You know, they were asking for funding for a new plow truck.
Right, and you chose to take it off the plan because they didn't come to say whether they've already bought it, whether they still plan to buy it, what year they wanna buy it.
Nothing.
They had submitted that 2 years ago, and it's
Yep.
remained in the plan at that year. But we haven't heard anything from them.
No.
So as you know, we send out an initial email with all the forms, all the instructions, and specific instructions that this year, they don't need new applications from you if your projects are staying in the year at the same cost as they've been in previously. But if things are changing, you need to tell us. You need to submit a new form if the price goes up, or if the price goes down, or if the year is slated to be changed. And you also need to tell us if you have no capital projects. So, I mean, I got emails from different department heads around town that said, I have no capital projects for my department. And the other ones that had changes did what the instructions said. It's meant to streamline the process, as you know, and for the most part, it works.
So if they can't respond, and it doesn't, with the NIA, we've asked all these questions, we never got an answer for it, how can they expect us to say, here's $20,000? And we need cooperation, it's not our job to go out and pull up teeth to get it.
Knock down the doors to give you $20,000. It's ridiculous. And then they play on the hype of the bond and.
I'm sorry,
They're
I
not
find
helping
it
us.
disrespectful
Hmm?
to the town, you know?
It's important to note that, as you know, by statute, the capital improvements program is simply an annual recommendation report on what and how much capital projects should move forward to the voters as warrant articles
Right.
in the capital year, which is the coming year, and in the 5 planning years that are subsequent to that. Every year, things change, especially in the planning years, so that's why the process is an annual one. You also know that because your CIP is only a recommendation for the purposes of the selectmen making informed choices with regard to capital projects and purchases, they don't have to do what you recommend. They, for good reason, and I'm sure that at their meetings they'll say what those reasons are, can add or subtract projects. Or they can follow your recommendation to the letter. I've seen all 3 happen in 2 communities that I've worked in.
Anything anybody like to say to add to this report? Mr. Brown?
Yeah, as the person who's probably been at more school board meetings than some sitting members, it does not compute. I have never gotten a sense of a bunker mentality. I have never gotten a sense of stiff-necked obstinance, and I've never gotten a sense of stupidity. And I really believe that there is a deep cultural misperception that the school is the school. And the most cordial thing I can say is that because they have used the word capital improvement project, they think they are on board and in sync. I leave you the other three possibilities.
Mr. Chairman?
Sir.
If the board pleases, I will bring you a draft report, which will include both your spreadsheet, a reading and ranking sheet with your recommendations on it, and a narrative that will explain everything that you want to say to your next meeting. And I would hope that and I would send it out to you in advance so that you can make notes of changes. And I will make those changes, and then we could set our public hearing.
Sounds good. We might be able to get this done by middle of September.
Right.
And get it out of our plate and go
That's
back to
right.
planning business.
That was 2020.
Not even for 2020. Okay. Other business.
Oh, just one note, we do have one boundary line application that is going to be on your, next agenda. Is it the next? No, it's not the next agenda. It's slated for your October 6th meeting. And what, besides the CIP report review, we have nothing for September 15th?
Nope.
It's just gonna be the CIP one more time.
Okay, that's good. I did get a call from Brian Lindsay, and he's kind of confused on the abutters list, so it's been telephone tagged, leave messages. And he called today and he wants to come in, and I told him to set up an appointment to come in to check out the abutters list, and this is on the Agri gravel pit.
Right. I do have one more thing.
Done?
I do have one more thing.
I do, or you do?
This is the second meeting since our last physical meeting, which was held on March 3rd. And on March 3rd, on your agenda for March 3rd was something called pole and conduit licensing resolution, where I had presented the board with some changes to the subdivision regulations that our town council had recommended. I just want to tell you that I will bring this to you again in an upcoming meeting. It was just one paragraph in red here.
Yep.
And you gave me at the time, I know you don't remember, you gave me some changes to the language.
Yep.
I'm gonna make the changes, I'll identify what the changes were, in addition to what the recommended language is, and I'll send this to the board as well.
So we could actually have
Sorry
two,
about that, we got derailed.
if we approve that language, you can have a public hearing at the same time as the
as
CIP.
the CIP,
We'll be styling.
absolutely. Thank you.
Okay. Is that good for your comments too?
Yeah, that's it.
Any of the board got comments or anything they'd like to discuss? It's early.
Just one,
Sure.
remember back when I think it's Governor's Road, there was a stop sign or an area, I had it on a little database on one of the minutes, where it stands now?
All right. I have applied for the safety audit to be done by the state of New Hampshire DOT through the Stratford Regional Planning Commission. They came back to me and said, well, you've got time, because we'll do it in October. But what we need is for this to pass muster, you need to you need to send us, accident reports and accident reports, what do they call them now? Crash reports. And I reached out to, the state to get their crash reports, I have those, and I reached out to the, police chief, and he's, putting that data together.
Oh, that's good to know.
So as soon as I get that, I will send it to, Colin Lenz, at the, SRPC, and we'll be off to the races.
Oh, that's
There's,
great.
there's quite a few
Great.
reports on that road.
Yeah.
There are a lot of people down on that thing, especially in that corner.
Yep.
Can we
Mr.
send
Chairman?
out a letter or something to the gal that brought it up to us and everything, to let them know?
I let her know.
You
I'll let her
did?
know
Oh,
where
you're
we
so
were.
good, Bruce, thank you
Yeah,
so
yeah,
much.
I worked with her for years in Dover.
Oh, that's
She's the
wonderful,
executive
thank you.
secretary for the city manager in Dover.
Oh,
And she lives in
thank you.
Milton, isn't that a great thing?
Thomas,
Well, both the state and the town have done a great job mowing the brush on the roadside of that intersection. And just that little bit has helped quite a bit with the sight line, quite a bit, yeah.
That's good.
no more comments? I only got one thing left on the agenda.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Is there-
Second.
All in favor?
Did you get to say it?
I had to do, barely. It passes.
Bill is getting to be a scary.
Almost clicked again.
No, I gotta get my glasses again. You can teach me now.